one of the big things, I'm saying one of the big things we've got is, I don't think this is probably the biggest reveal by any means, but almost inadvertently, Mo Salah may have slightly strengthened Arne Slot's hand, in essence being that Hughes and Edwards are obviously the opposite of player power, and how they see is very much a structure within the club. If they are going to get rid of Arne Slot, and they don't want to do it, obviously, until it's absolutely untenable in their eyes, and it's based on results, and we've seen the briefing, which is kind of funny because the results have been utter shy recently, but we'll steer away from that just now. In terms of the results, they're very keen to have it, we've made this decision, not, Mo Salah and the players have dictated this, that they're not happy, so we've had to, pull the cord. They're not having that for 1 second, using Edwards as the info we've got. So actually, because of that, and the way this now has to play out with the Mo situation, the first real bit to stay is Mo Salah may have inadvertently made Arne Slot's position a bit tenable again, for want of a better phrase, and given him a bit of an extension. So that's probably the first bit, do you reckon, to start with?
Yeah, and just to go in on that for a second, because it is a thing that I wanted to talk to you about really briefly. How are you feeling? Because again and again, it's been emphasized that the two boys have, as you said, they have this detached way of looking at it. There's much hyped, the scientific, neutral approach. So that's one thing, and I think that could be admirable, and you can see how that works for us. But what do you make of all these kind of constantly sort of very thinly veiled references to the fact that the boys seem to be a little bit fragile in the ego department, whereas we couldn't have it seen to be player power? Who gives a shit if you're making the right decision, how it's perceived? Just make the decision. The idea that it would have extended Arne's period of time now where something could happen because of perception, I find that really pathetic, because that is, if there's any truth to that, then it is just purely ego driven, because you make the right decision, and regardless of what people think of you, if you think you're making the right decision, you just do it. You see where I'm going with this?
100%. And the funny thing is, they will rally against that, and the briefings will be against that. Well, we know it's about results and all that, but it's like, I'm the same as you. It's absolutely right. If it's the right decision to get rid of him, whether it's the players don't respond to him anymore, whether it's results, or I think you can put strong, arguments in both camps, whichever. For me, I've said it before on pods, I can't start backtracking. It's untenable now for me. We've had a period of appalling football, appalling results. It's done for me. We should be pulling the plug before we even went to Milan, even earlier. Of course we should. But now that they haven't done that, and that this has unfolded, it does throw a little bit of a how do they play it? And I genuinely am baffled a bit as to how this is all going to unravel, because everything's on the table.
Yeah.
Now, go on. Yeah.
You mentioned those senior players, and we're going to come back to them. But I think the thing that I want to dangle out there really quick here is a bit of absolute sort of, chewy goodness in terms of a story involving World Cup winning Spanish manager.
Jesus Christ. If you think you get messages before, we're about to get all sorts as well. And just before anyone attacks me for this, like you normally do on Twitter, my head is not fat. It's in proportion, thank you. Big in every size. But I'll leave that with you for the comments. But anyway, yeah, a World Cup winning manager. So as we say this, everyone's going to go, they're talking about Alonso, aren't they? Because everyone knows Xabi Alonso. It's going badly at the Bernabeu, and he's under pressure. And if he loses to City, he's going to do it. And then everyone's going to go into, but guys, come on. He'll want a break after that. He probably won't want to go straight into the Liverpool thing. He might want to, have a break, take it pre-season. So then you get an interim, and people will want we could get Stevie as assistant, or Johnny Heitinger as assistant, Stevie leading it. Carol and Caroline from the canteen can pick up set pieces and all this type of thing. And the conspiracy theories will abound, because you all think we're talking about Xabi Alonso. No. I think we're going to have to step into this now, aren't we? We're just going to have to rub off the Band-Aid, Trev, and just go for it, basically.
Yep.
So, yeah, people, genuinely, like, when I said triple source, because, sometimes we get some stuff. And be honest, me and Trev have been sent this. Sometimes it's been agent BS or certain things, but you try and dig, you try and verify. This is triple verified now. I can't think of another way of saying it. Well, Richard Hughes has had discussions with Como head coach and investor Cesc Fàbregas. The same Cesc Fàbregas, the Spanish World Cup winning midfielder that played for Chelsea and Arsenal, of course, in the Premier League, and Barcelona, of course, probably maybe his famous big move back in the day. Now you're thinking, well, why are you talking about these clubs? Because as an investor and head coach, he's got a brilliant relationship with the setup there at Como, and he enjoys almost complete power. He's a part investor with Thierry Henry. Trev, part of the agreement they've got with Como, and it's almost an informal agreement, is that he's there, he's going to turn down offers. But if Chelsea, if Arsenal, if Barcelona were to come knocking, that's the kind of like, they know they're Cesc's clubs, quote, for want of a better phrase. So there'd be an understanding there. Never, probably I suspect, in anyone's, let's say wildest dreams, but thought process, did anyone think Liverpool might be wanting to speak to Cesc Fàbregas about the head coach job? I mean, go back a year if we were saying this, they'd say we were off our wedding cake, wouldn't they? Like, what are you talking about type of thing? But doing genuinely a bit of digging on this, they like a lot about Fàbregas and very much see him as a possible long-term project. As in, yes, he's green, he's inexperienced a little bit about that, but they like the football he's playing. We're getting told the fact they like how he's getting certain amounts out of players. At Como, 6 in Serie A. I mean, for God's sake, he's getting goals and like football out of Alberto Moreno, for God's sake, of all people. Like, so all that goes into the mix, and obviously his passionate character, his bits, they do like a lot of that at the same time as well. Now, Salah, again, may have just put a bit of a fly in the ointment on this, because you can't necessarily start moving forward with that and have it all look as it does. That they've got to obviously play out that scenario, then got to decide with Arne Slot. So none of this is going to move quickly at all. But just being honest, people, our info is, and people are going to say, what about, I'm making it up now, but Glasner, Iraola and all that, don't have anything on them names. Not going to lie to you, whether I think they might have or not, don't have anything. But what we have, Richard Hughes has sounded out Cesc Fàbregas and Como about that possibility. It is a far from done deal. It is a far from easy deal to do. But it's telling that that's happening.
Like you said, just cue the absolutely uproarious no marks on Twitter coming at both of us individually with their various insults. I've had a few absolute buttes today, I'll tell you that. But it's very interesting stuff. And that story, by the way, apologies to everybody who sees me dabbing my nose. I'm as sick as a small hospital, but I am not missing this show, let's put it this way, because there's too much on it. We do have another, I think, bit of a shocker for people as well. And again, you've had this stood up. It's apparently a source of contention, the state of play at the club amongst some of the senior players. And it's interesting that something has happened amongst those senior players in the wake of what happened with Mo. Would you walk people through it in just terms of what it is they're asking for, who it is they're asking to speak to, and what your theory on why is?
Yeah, just info that they've had stood up that senior players have asked for a meeting with Richard Hughes, being included Virgil van Dijk, Robbo, but also told Dominic Szoboszlai is in that mix, because very much, I think senior players are not stupid. They can see what's happening, can't they? They know the impact within the dressing room, and they'll know the impact from the fan base as well, those leaders within the club. Also, I mean, I'm trying not to be derogatory about journalists. Forget what journalists write about Mo Salah's relationship with players and whether that's close or he's detached or he's aloof and all that. Mo Salah has fantastic relationships, is our info, with players. Doesn't mean they're going around and playing chess or tiddlywinks every night, but that's not the same thing, is it? Come on, well, we're all grown adults here. But the big thing is, though, we want to speak to Richard Hughes about what's going on. And you wouldn't be... And this is theorising. This is the sort of moving into my theory bit. I suspect they've got something to say about the way they're being coached, the way they're being led, and the fact we look completely uncoached at the moment and just, making up. I suspect they've got stuff to say about that. So that's my... you asked me for a theory. That's a little bit of it. Whether that'll bear true, we don't know. Here's the other kicker that we've got. It's important to say that Dominic Szoboszlai is in that mix. Yeah. And part of the reason to say that is Liverpool and Richard Hughes specifically knew they wanted to renew Dominic Szoboszlai, so they've been very careful with how they've done this. Now, Dominic Szoboszlai, when he first came to Liverpool, Trev, it was very much him and his dad. That dad had a big say in everything. But the info we've got now is that, and obviously I don't know anything about relationships, not my business, but that dad stepped away, and it's Dominic Szoboszlai and his agent that are very much the ones they've been talking to around this renewal and the early discussions about trying to get that done. Now, part of keeping Dominic Szoboszlai's agent and him on board, remember Armand Pesci, that goalkeeper that came across? Liverpool had options for a younger goalkeeper. He wasn't just the only one. They looked at a good few. But who's the agent for Armand Pesci? The same agent for Dominic Szoboszlai. Sometimes, like, people, you want to keep the agent sweet in football, as we know, as much as the player. It all links together. So that, that seemed smart at the time to do that decision, make that move. However, I don't even like getting this info. You could, but you understand it at the moment, because look how well Dominic Szoboszlai is playing, and look how badly Liverpool are doing and everyone else around it. Is Dominic Szoboszlai and his team clamouring to get that big renewal right now? Our info is there's just a little bit of let's see how this goes from a lot of the players. And you asked me it last week, and someone put it in the chat panel. I can't remember the name, but do you remember they were saying about Champions League football and targets and what the thing would be? And we were quite honest to say, absolute fucking nuclear disaster for Liverpool if they don't get Champions League football. Do you honestly think a lot of these players, the way it's in, are thinking that, this is all rosy, I want to stay at this club? They're looking at the whole situation right now and saying, I want to see action or things happen before I commit anything long-term to Liverpool right now. So the reason I wanted to give you all that, people, is, yeah, we're all talking short-term, but even longer-term, there's a lot at stake for Liverpool right now.
Thinking about how some of the current squad are going to process information that's coming in, thinking about the idea that several of them are looking to talk to Richard Hughes already, Dave, just by dint of the fact that that's a real thing that they're wanting to do. There's a change in the culture, because you would never have had this under Klopp. Like, the players would be talking to Klopp. That would be it. Now there's a clear delineation of duties and responsibilities and power that's different to what it used to be. And I don't see that could be anything other than divisive for the group, were that meeting to go ahead. Even if it was looking to clear the air, I just don't see how it's anything other than, clarifying that there are all these different lines of approach to take now. And Arne Slot is not the man who you go to when you're upset. That's point number one. Point number two is, can you imagine how Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz are feeling currently, having been sold whatever they were sold, to make these big, controversial and expensive moves, which have so far been tremendously underwhelming on the part of Wirtz for what he'd like to be doing, and almost a non-event on the part of Isak. If there is a managerial change, you would imagine that them and their agents are going to want to be part of any discussions as well, right? Because, and I don't know how this works, but I'd be amazed, knowing what I know about life in general, if that wasn't part of the conversation for them as well. It's like, well, we need to be okay that this guy is going to be favourable towards our guy. What like you can see, can't you? There's got to be a lot of knock-on stuff here.
100%. And with any system in football, pros and cons to it. And you're right, the pros are moving away from it is, we all know, and it's not being derogatory, Jurgen had too much power. Things have gone to waste a little bit with contracts. There was sentimental rather than football decisions being made, as we know. So we wanted to move away from that. And we very much have adopted almost a European model, as they say, haven't they? Where you've got a head coach, where you've got a sporting director who oversees it all, and that feeds in very much a European style. So people are like, great, that's good. And there is positives to that. Of course there is, about the way we operate. But there are cons as well, as you see in European football. Because as you see with clubs that operate this model, Trev, as soon as players were unhappy with the head coach, they don't go to the head coach, do they? Because they don't need to go to the head coach either. They go to the people above him, and, agents talk and dads talk, and we know how all that fits in. Now, whether it's like a president at Real, or whether it's, like a Bayern style, as we see with sporting directors, although, funnily enough, the Bayern people won't show up, whereas ours just doesn't speak at all, which is the opposite to the European model as well. There are real cons to this, and all of a sudden, you can get divisions quickly. That is what you see at European clubs. That is the big con. Because if the players ain't having that head coach, he doesn't enjoy an all-encompassing power like a Jurgen Klopp, doesn't it? Where it's like, nah, he's in charge, you go and sort that between you. So you will get divisions that fester quickly. And again, this is just another complication for Hughes, Edwards and the Suits, isn't it? Because the player feelings, the options there, the Salah situation, senior players knocking on their door, contract renewals that you want to do, and obviously the risk of not getting Champions League. And as you said, Wirtz, Isak, they didn't sign up to play Europa. Let's be clear on that. They know exactly what they signed up for. All this feels on the line a little bit at the moment, doesn't it? It's bad because it's us, but it's a perverse situation to almost watch, isn't it, unfold, and what they're going to do, I have no idea.